Hi, my name is Dr. Laura Lassiter, and this is the first time I've posted a video on YouTube. I've been noticing a lot of distress, a lot of overwhelm and despair right now in my community and just in our country in general. And I thought I would come here and share some resources with you that will help manage the stress that we're all feeling. And, when you're stressed, there are a couple things that can happen. Some people's default is to go into sort of what we call the fight mode, where they want to protest, they're highly activated, they might be writing letters, doing activist-like activities, and maybe even engaging in violence, unfortunately. Other people have an impulse to flee, to get away, to run away. And that can be literally running away or figuratively running away, like running into addictions, kind of an escapism to deal with stress. And then there's a third group of people who, when they're super stressed, just go into overwhelm, into what's called a freeze state. And that's actually a trauma response. And that's different from the other two states of fight or flight, because freeze is a really low energy state. And so it's important to distinguish between those different states so that you can choose the appropriate tools to support your nervous system, because they're very different depending on whether you're more on the activated side of fight flight or the collapsed side of freeze. And so I thought we would start with just tuning into our bodies. I'm going to lead you through this to identify what state your nervous system is in right now. And so I just invite you to close your eyes if that feels comfortable. I'm going to have to move this camera around because the sun is coming up right now, and so bear with me on that. You can close your eyes if that feels comfortable to you, or if you'd rather keep them open, that's fine too. Sometimes it feels too vulnerable to close your eyes. So whatever you need to do to feel safe enough to do this exploration. So I'm going to close my eyes because I find I can tune in better when I shut out visual sensory information. I can tune into my body better. And you can start either at the top with your head and work your way down to your feet. Or if you prefer, you can start at your feet and work your way up to your head. I like to start with my head because when I'm stressed, it's usually my head that's part of the problem. My head spinning into stories about what might happen, going into catastrophic thinking, or getting triggered by what's happening now because of things that have happened in the past. And so bringing up old trauma. And what we're aiming to do right now is to come into the present moment. And so I start at the head so I can get out of the head as quickly as possible by going down. So just starting at the head, all we're doing here is noticing what's going on in our body. So focusing on sensations in the body and feeling them from the inside. Not trying to change anything, not judging anything that you find. This is just like taking an inventory of your inner space. And so I am noticing that my head feels pretty clear right now. I don't have a lot of thoughts swimming around. And I'm going to let's drop down into the neck. And what we're doing is we're noticing any sensations. It could be temperature changes, like areas that are more hot or cold, or tingling, numbness, bracing, stiffness, pain, contraction. Those are all different sensations that you might notice in your body. And you can also take note to see if there's some parts of your body that are more accessible than others, and perhaps some parts that are feel more shut off and closed. And so moving down into your shoulders and all the way down your arms, just tracking any sensations down into your hands. Often it's easier to feel sensations in the palms of the hands. They're quite sensitive. And then we're going to come back up the arms to the chest, noticing any sensations in your chest. And my chest feels a little bit tight. I notice I'm not able to take as deep a breath as I would like. And I've got a little bit of pain, like a sharp pain behind my right scapula. And again, we're just noticing what's here. There's no judgment about anything, no right or wrong, nothing to fix, just scanning, moving our awareness down now into the abdomen, where all those organs are. There's usually a lot that can be going on in that area because the internal organs store emotions. And just noticing any sensations in your abdomen now. And for me, I feel pretty good, actually. I don't feel any contraction. Maybe a little bit of heaviness in my lower abdomen. And now bringing our awareness down into the pelvis, hips, and perineum. Perineum can hold a lot of trauma. It's where our root chakra is, the chakra that has to do with survival. And now bringing our awareness down into the thighs, the knees, the calves, and finally into the feet. Feeling your feet from the inside, taking your time. There's no rush with this. Whew. And I just took a deep breath. You might notice that you have a spontaneous deep breath. That's a sign that your nervous system is moving into a more relaxed state. And now we're going to come back and just what did you notice about your own nervous system? Are you in a more activated state or a more frozen, collapsed state? And how would you know the difference? So with an activated state, there's adrenaline coursing through your veins. So adrenaline raises your blood pressure and your heart rate. It can give you a feeling of restlessness, urgency. It's a high energy state. Whereas the freeze response is the exact opposite. It's a very low energy state. And it's a low energy state across the entire system. And what I mean by that is none of the cells have enough energy. So your brain isn't functioning as well. You can't think clearly. You might have trouble making decisions. And your body doesn't have the energy it needs to move. So you might even feel literally frozen, immobilized, needing to go lie down, needing to sleep. And why am I making a big deal of this distinction? It's because the tools that you're going to use to regulate your nervous system depend on what state it's in. You're not going to use the same tools if you're in a really activated state where you need to calm down, and as you would for a frozen a freeze state. And so if you're really feeling activated right now, like you want to do something, um, you've got a lot of energy to expend, breathing is the very first thing that I would recommend that you focus on. And breathing through your nose on the in-breath, and breathing out through your mouth on the out-breath. You want to breathe all the way out. Sometimes it can help to count. I count to 4 on the in-breath, and then I count to 8 on the out-breath, making the out-breath a little bit more prolonged, because that will activate the vagus nerve, which is involved in the relaxation response. And also, when you breathe through your nose, that activates the vagus nerve too, because it has fibers in that area. So breathing through your nose and then a prolonged exhale will activate your vagus nerve and shift your system into a more relaxed state if you're in an activated state now. Now, what if you're in a freeze state? So you don't need to be calmer in a freeze state. You're already in a very kind of low energy place. What's really needed here is to bring a sense of safety back in to your system, so it can start melting, so it can start unwinding, so it can start generating more energy. Because right now, if you're in a freeze response, you're in a survival response, where your body is expending the least amount of energy as possible. It's just trying to survive. And so how can you bring safety in? Especially if you're feeling overwhelmed. Sometimes it's hard to do that for yourself, and it can be resourceful to bring in external support. And that could be a friend, could be a family member, but it needs to be someone who isn't also in a dysregulated state. Someone who is calm, who can hold space for you, meaning they can be with you without overreacting, and give your nervous system a chance to attune to theirs. Like we come into resonance with each other. And so I just encourage you to use the breathing. You can do that anytime, any place, and it's free of charge. And it only takes a few seconds, and there's an immediate shift. So that's one of your best tools in your toolkit. And then do the body scan. And the reason to do that is also to just check in with how you're doing, but to reconnect with your body too, because sometimes when you're stressed out, there's a disconnect with your body, and your body holds a lot of information that you won't have access to, a lot of wisdom, if you're disconnected from it. So, when we're stressed, sometimes there's a tendency to go into the head to try to figure things out. And that just isn't possible when you're not in a relaxed state. So we want to get reconnected with the body and the breath. And that's a first step to shifting back into a more resource state. And my intention is to come back here every day, but don't hold me to that. That's my intention. I want to come back here and just share 1 or 2 pearls, 1 or 2 tips about how to regulate your nervous system, so that you can be able to respond better to what's happening and not be in a reactive state. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.